Are you excited like I am right now? I mean, we've got a clean slate. We're at the beginning of a brand new year, a year full of possibilities. But before we go off rushing into 2022, we need to do one extremely important thing. That's why today's episode is all about taking a pause and reflecting on who you want to be and how you want to show up so you can make this year one of your best.
Hey, we're Britt and Chris Carmichael, and you're listening to the Elevated Life Podcast. Throughout the 13 years we've been together, we've never ceased in our endless quest to better ourselves.
We've studied top experts, philosophers, and gurus. After years of personal self-experimentation, we found the tools for shifting your beliefs, moving through fears, and developing a positive mindset.
If you're ready for a breakthrough, then you're in the right place, because we're here to empower you to take control of your life with simple mindset shifts that create radical transformation.
We'll be diving into topics like personal growth, health, philosophy, spirituality, relationships, success, and mindfulness.
So create some space for yourself and get comfy. It's time to become the badass you were born to be. Happy New Year!
Yeah!
Woohoo! Welcome back to the Elevated Life Podcast in 2022. We are so excited to be with you because we have got some magic in store this year. Last year was a wild ride for us, and if you've been along the journey, you've known that my father's passed away. We've been hosting retreats. We recently were in a car accident with a drunk driver that resulted in me breaking my hand. So we're kind of restructuring our day-to-day life and our overall dreams and path that we're taking. I feel like this was a universal slap on the hands to say, hey, it's time to let go of some things and really focus on what you want to call in. So I have a feeling you're probably in that boat too. So if you're in a transition period, if you're letting go of the old and stuck in that freak out moment of, I don't really know where we're going, but I know it's going to be better, because you have that faith. Oh, I get it. We're there.
Yeah, I think it's really cool to think about that at any point in your life. It doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter where you're at in life. If you have accomplished a ton or literally nothing at all, it doesn't matter. You can always start fresh. You can always just wipe the slate completely clean. You can say, how do I want to show up now? Because we all go through like these big different phases in our life, and sometimes they come up because of accident or injury. Sometimes they come up because something rapidly changes in your life, or sometimes you just done enough of something. You're like, you know what? I think I'm tired of this now, or I want to take this and I want to evolve it. I want to make it bigger than I've ever thought possible. And that's going to mean that I do away with some other things. And it's so great to start to have that conversation with yourself. So many people are big January 1 people. Like, I'm going to start doing this on January 1. That's how the year starts. But for us, we normally play it a little bit different than that. One of the things that we've been incorporating a lot is doing things in our lives based on what season it is. And so since it's that dark time still, at least here, in Texas, it's dark outside early, and we're still kind of in that hibernation mode, and we're like getting excited toward that spring season where we start doing so many new things. And so for us, what it's been about lately is thinking through it all. What do I want my day to look like? How do I want to wake up and feel in the morning? What are those first things that I do? How are we eating this year? Like, who are we spending a lot of time with? Where have we gotten like the most nourishment out of activities that we've done? And who are those people in our lives? And what are those conversations that have inspired us? And like, do we want to watch TV or movies, or do we want to scrap that? Do we want to read more or meditate more?
Or listen to the higher side chats.
Listen, it's about going through your life and starting to itemize, okay, where am I at now?
And that is perfect timing, because this month of January is all about retrograde season. Venus is in retrograde. Mercury is about to go in retrograde for the entire month. And so that's really a time of reflection, reassess, releasing, revising. It's not about, okay, it's January 1, you're forced to have clarity and make the changes right now. I mean, we're in a transition. We're in that in-between phase, which is why I know I keep talking about shift, but I'm finally going to create the shift program that I've been talking about. It's been interesting, all the shifting that I've been doing in my own personal life, so it hasn't been a priority. But now at this particular time, especially with where the cosmos is and where the stars have aligned, it really is that massive time of transformation. So I think I'd also like to bring up some of our ideas and predictions for this year and what you can see, like what we see happening or unfolding. Now, of course, it's just where our intuitive vibe leads, but I just feel like this is a massive year of revolution, of change, of evolution, if you will, like of a personal revolution, an inner healing, so that we can start taking more aligned action. One of the things that Chris and I have been talking a lot about this year is where we invest our time and our money, and making sure that the companies that we're supporting are in alignment with what feels right with us. I think that's really come up, especially with this accident that we've had. I know we can't share a lot of details just yet since we're in the middle of the whole situation, but just trying to get medical health care has been an interesting intuitive ride of, no, this doesn't feel right, or you don't have my best interest, and making sure that we're always being our first and foremost number one authority.
Yeah, I think if we start looking all the time outside to others, now there are so many others in the world that can help us. They have great information. They have great intuitive
the
wisdom.
chiropractor is the only one that can put this wrist back into place. Okay.
So it's been amazing to see who helps, who doesn't help, how you think of healthcare, or how you think of how you're treating yourself, and the food that you eat, the things that you think. It's getting back to all those grassroots and realizing like what now at this point in our lives is the most important, because you really do vote with your dollar. I mean, every single dollar you spend supports that company. It keeps that company running. So if those companies' values don't align with your own, it's something just at least to start thinking about. It's like, do I want to contribute to this, or do I want to make changes? Do I want to buy things that are local? Do I want to buy things that will last longer? Maybe it's not something I have to throw away after a single use. It's starting to think about these things. How do the actions that we take impact the rest of the world? How does it impact our own health? Is this the right amount of time that we're doing this? Should we move our focus in different ways? Can we serve more people in a better way? It's always keeping those kind of questions like in the forefront of the mind. I think this is like the perfect time of year to start doing that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're in the middle of winter, and this is not the normal astrological year. It always starts in Aries season and in April. And so this is definitely a time of reflection, not of let's make massive bold changes. We can make those decisions in our mind, but the physical action that we're being called to make, I don't think it's not the right time. This is more of like getting clarity on what it is you really want and what isn't serving you. More than anything, I think the clarity right now is on what isn't working for us. A lot of the times it's easier to figure that out than it is what you do want. And so I think if you're in that position where you feel stuck and you're not exactly sure what you want moving forward, what's important during this season is to really reflect on what isn't working and what you won't tolerate anymore.
It's weird when you just get a few things out of your life that either don't serve you or you're just not enjoying in the same way anymore. It's amazing how things will show up to fill that. I think we're always kind of asking for something like, I'd like to see more of this in my life, or I'd like to meet these kind of people, or I'd like to have these kind of opportunities. And what we don't realize that we do is we have to change up our day a little bit. Because if we do the same thing in the 24 hours, only certain opportunities can happen. So we have to move things around. It's like little puzzle pieces. Say, okay, well, I'm not going to do this activity for 30 minutes a day. And instead, I'm going to figure out what fills that void in my life. What's that one thing that's been calling me that I know I need to do? And I'll figure out where can I put it in that time.
I think it's so important to fill your time with the things that light you up. It's one of the main core lessons that I teach inside of Shine School is getting clear on what you're passionate about. What do you like to spend your time doing? What is it that you can get lost in for hours that just brings you into the present moment? Because that's what we need more of in this time right now, is living in the present, not living in the future and planning to fail, which is worrying, like Chris always describes. Obviously, a lot of us are too caught up in the fear of the future to even be concerned with what's even happened in the past. Like, it's just too wild right now. I can't even focus on that. And I'm not to say that there aren't things that you might be dealing with in an unconscious way from the past, but I feel like so many people are living in a forward fear state that they can't even focus in the present moment where the miracles and the magic happen.
Gosh, that's so important. And it's amazing because when you talked about looking in the future and kind of operating in this fear mentality, and what's really cool and what we've been experiencing, especially a lot lately, something that we've needed so much, is getting back into that present moment. And the way we always do that is by breathing, by just continuously focusing on our breath. In the last couple of weeks, it's been amazing how something such as a simple tool like that can make such a big difference in your life. I think one of the absolute coolest things that happened, probably one of the coolest things that happened last year. And that is, we get into the ER room after our accident, and they hook Britt up to the machines, right? They got to check the blood pressure. They got to do all the, they got to do whatever. They want to check her out. Is she okay?
Let's just like back up for 2 seconds. A drunk driver pulled out in front of us. We were going full speed, smashed right into him, put my hands up, airbag, broke hand, ripped some fingers open, stitches. Okay, now I think we've caught him up. It was crazy.
So we're in the ER, right? And the coolest thing that happened, it happened. I was, you have to live in that moment because you cannot plan for a moment typically like that. You have to kind of go with what's there right there.
I always say don't wait for trauma to make a change, but sometimes the universe steps in and is like, hey, here's this crazy situation. Let's see how you fare.
And that's why practicing all the tools, the breath work, the meditation, getting back into that calm place that you have is so important. It's not useful while we're at home in the morning. I mean, it does good things during the day. It's useful to use it when we're in those moments. We don't have to escape. Like, we can make really good intuitive decisions. We can understand what's happening in the moment, and we can think on our feet. You don't always have to plan for everything. Sometimes you can't, but what you can do is you can rely on the tools that you've built up over time. And in those moments, that's when you find the reward. And so it was super cool. So we're in the ER, and they got Britt on the machine, and I'm coming back there.
They literally just stitched up my hand.
And they took your blood pressure. And, you got to think, in a moment like that, your adrenaline's got to be spiked. You got to be freaking out a little bit inside. You're like, what is going on with me? The stitches are kind of crazy. They're sticking needles into my hand.
It's like 2 a.m. in the morning.
And Britt's blood pressure was as normal as could be.
It was under.
It was as though she was relaxed on the couch. And I thought, all that stuff that we've been doing works. Because, you can say that it works, and then you can actually experience it in the moment. One of our friends was there with us, and she said, only you would be able to have your blood pressure and be that relaxed in the moment going through something where it is traumatic. No matter who you are, you go through something.
Especially if you're a hairstylist.
It's traumatic. But you start to rely on the tools. You start to realize that I can be relaxed. I can be calm. I can send messages to my body, even when I'm going through something, to stay relaxed, because that tensing effect rarely ever helps us. It causes us to be afraid, and it causes us to cower back to life. And I think that if you can be relaxed in the moment, it's so difficult to worry because you're just breathing. You're just regular breathing.
It's so interesting because you and I have done so much hypnosis work, especially it reminded me of the time where we were trapped on the mountain in Colorado. That's one of our first podcast episodes, if you guys want to go back and listen to that. It was that moment where you said, everybody breathe. And we all started syncing our breath and taking nice, long, deep, relaxed, long breaths. And it just totally changed the energy and the atmosphere in that car. And I reverted right back to that. Everybody control your breath. If you can control your breath, you can control your emotional states and pain level and all of that. And I mean, the only thing I asked Chris to do in the room was like, come over here and put your hand on my head. And I'm sure the surgeon thought we were crazy as hell. But that's his anchor for all the hypnosis work that we do. Instead of doing like a long induction, counting down, all the things, we've created a trigger where he can just put his hand on top of my head. And that sends like a signal to my body that I'm going to relax and like go into trance. So he came over and put his hand on my head, and I started deep breathing. And that's exactly what happened. We got through the surgery. It was fine. And then they took my blood pressure, and it was crazy. It was low. It was low. I mean, it was lower than when we even walked in, which was still normal, but it was even lower because we were doing the deep breathing. And I just find it so divine and synchronistic that inside the Elevated Life Club this month, the topic is on breath work. I asked Chris, how do you want to start the new year? And this is our 5th year of doing the Elevated Life Club, of monthly live coaching, yoga, and meditation. Like, we are full blown, we are in it to win it, man. This is the place to be if you're looking for that accountability and the coaching and the mentorship and the tools, like Chris said. If it weren't for the tools that we have discovered, I mean, hell, we wouldn't be here in general, but like, I definitely wouldn't have been that relaxed to be able to get through that. So I'm just so excited. We'll be teaching all of these breathing. It's like you're born with it, but no one taught you how to actually use it consciously because it's an unconscious byproduct of our body, but it's really what controls everything.
It's absolutely amazing to be able to decide what state you're in. If you're going to be relaxed or if you're going to be anxious, you can actually make that conscious decision. I mean, you can slow yourself down. And there's a lot of breathing techniques that work really well, and they work based on, whatever situation you're in. And that's really what I want to teach is I want to show people some of these exercises, say, hey, does this work for you the same way? Do you feel that? And to get people back into that moment, get back into that, like, just being here and not being lost in thought, being able to actually relax in the moment, to not feel stress or strain or tension or any of that kind of stuff that we all feel so much. So many people want to do so many things in their life, and they forget about, like, it's just beautiful sometimes to be here, to like recognize how great the present moment is, to not always be trying to rush to the next thing. I realized that my big word for the year is about slowing down. It's about solitude. It's about getting back to just relaxing for a moment, not to always be so overstimulated, and getting into that place where, like, everything's great. And I think too often we live in this, I don't know, maybe fear-based mindset is it. We don't always look for the good. And I think that it's always there. I think we have to train ourselves to be able to do that. And a lot of times it takes that breathing to be able to really wake that up inside ourselves, because that's the tool that we always have. It's great if you have somebody that helps you along with that, someone that coaches you along, but you don't have that in the field. You don't have that when you're actually lifing. It's not the perfect setup. And so being able to know that you can handle those situations on your own, I think that it feels so good to be able to do that. I can't wait to see, like, what that unfolds in people's lives, because once you start to relax, all those flow states you hear about, all those ways like athletes are able to get into these and be able to do incredible things with their bodies, the way that writers are able to, the actors, the musicians, everyone we've ever heard of that does great things gets into this state. And whether they realize it or not, they're always doing it through breathing. Like, this is like the access to be able to do that.
Well, I was just going to say, you think we're teaching you about breathing, but what we're really teaching you is awareness, and awareness is enlightenment. And so this is going to be one of those powerful kickstart live masterclasses to get people in control of their own emotional state, their well-being, their energy, their mindset. This is going to be that developing practice that builds that awareness over time, that creates clarity and confidence in every situation. When you're presented with these universal, like, hey, here's a bump in the road, let's see how you handle it, you can always rely on you because you trust yourself and you believe in yourself. And it seems silly that breathing would be the start to that practice, but it truly is.
Yeah, it was crazy because, you brought up the mountain story. And I forgot, like, what the feeling was in that moment, and you bringing it back up reminded me of what fear feels like, And if you haven't experienced that, it's an overwhelming feeling. It's like everything, your mind goes in every direction, and for me to tell everybody to breathe was weird. I mean, I'm like, am I going crazy? Like, it came out of me. I didn't come up with saying that, and suddenly I just told everybody, breathe. We gotta breathe. Like, everybody need to calm down. And that was exactly what we did. And doing that, I didn't even know that was a thing. But suddenly I felt so much better. And I felt like, man, we can get through this moment. That mountain story is a big story.
It was pivotal. Oh.
Weird. Is that weird?
Hello, we are in sync. And you know how in sync we are? Your word is solitude for this year, and my word is peace. So it really is about getting back to my inner peace and not letting anything frustrate me or get just like tied up and draining my energy with toxic people. I think that was a big theme over the last year, is cutting out anything that isn't as equally giving in my life. If it's always, if I'm always feeling drained, then then you gotta go. Bye, Felicia. So it was about really cutting out activities, experiences, feelings, relationships, all the things that drain my energy. And I think that's what's going to be really important for us to assess in this month particularly.
The purge. We talked about that. We talked about purging, and I think that what's happening right now is that we're going through that more than we thought that we would, because we're still in kind of this paused method. We're still not in the 100% action mode. It's still like we're kind of in decision time, and that's really just spending time and thinking it through. It's not just doing things that you've always done. It's talking about getting something new about that, about either ditching things or scaling things or just figuring out where that important time goes. And I think that being in that pivotal moment and not having to take action before you've made the decision will cause you to have better legs to stand on. It'll give you a framework. It'll give you a foundation so that you can begin to like run faster, because if you're always just kind of on the go, you don't pause and think through it. And so your life kind of just gives you random stuff, and instead of giving you what you really want. And the big thing is for us to be able to go after the things that we want, but it always takes us slowing down and deciding what exactly specifically that is.
And to test it, because it might not be what you think it is. Like, you might be making a decision based on like hidden agendas or obligations that you didn't even realize were there until you got yourself into the act of experiencing it. And you're like, wait, this isn't even what I want. I thought I was supposed to go to college because so-and-so made me feel that kind of way. But now that I'm here, I realize I can just get on YouTube and learn this shit in 2 seconds.
All right, you're totally reminding me of something, which I didn't know. I didn't know this was a truth, but the more often that I see and hear you coach people, the more, because, you know, a lot of people come with what problems they have, or problems that are unseen problems, kind of unconscious problems, and they don't realize oftentimes how much they're self-sabotaging. I didn't know that people would self-sabotage, and that they would continuously do things that they actually stop enjoying to do. What we're talking about here and what this month is about is considering what your 7 or above is. That's what we're talking about. That's always the rule. But we're coming back to that in our lives and reevaluating, like, is this still a 7 or above? And for us, it's been considering like every little bitty detail.
I know, we're finally at a free, fresh slate. Like, no contract at the salon. Our lease is about to be up in our home. Our car is totaled. We're free from that, even though I just paid it off. You know, like, there's no strings attached right now, and it's really up to us to make that decision to say, what do you really want? What's in alignment with where you want to go now?
And I think that it would be so smart for everybody to do that. Don't wait till you're in the same kind of situation we are in.
The universe will step in, if you know, like, and I feel like we were getting our groove on, all the things, we were firing out on all cylinders. Like, we were freaking crushing it, going to the gym, all the things were perfect, and then crash. And now it's a reevaluation of, well, what's important? What matters to you? What do you want to focus on?
Yeah, so I guess the word for right now is sort of rebuild. You know, sort of wipe the slate clean and rebuild. Whatever's not there is not there. And you don't have to always make it. Everything doesn't have to be hard in life. I think that's a huge misconception that we have, is that everything's supposed to be hard.
Or that you have to be doing something all the time. Like, I'm also battling that too. Like, I've always said, like, well, I just want to make enough money to where I can like chill out for a little while. Well, like, I've made enough money where I can chill out for a little while, and I'm still over here trying to do shit. And the universe is smashing my finger with crystals and like trying to get me to pay attention. So I find it even fascinating, the lessons that I'm uncovering from these experiences that are popping up right now.
Yeah, nothing ends. You know, we continuously like figure out how to do it a little bit better. And I feel like that's the best we can give each other, is to figure out a little bit better. And I feel like that's where you are. You're at a place where your body and everything is saying, hey, take a pause.
Yeah.
It's a pause. And you have to honor that. You know, and I think that a lot of times we forget to honor that. We just always push through. We always, well, you know, I can try a little harder next time, and I can do a little better, and I can spend a little more time doing that. And if I'd only done this, if I'd spent a little more, and it just becomes overwhelming. And you have to just take a break for a second. And just take a pause out of life. And I don't mean like just binge every Netflix show and just drink
like
as much
give up on
booze
life.
as possible, or anything like that. I'm talking about taking
like sacred rest,
a pause to like reconsider stuff, because that's what ends up coming up. Because you start to reevaluate things, because pausing means changing whatever it is that you do on a daily activity. Like, you don't realize how much we all get into autopilot mode, and we just live the same day kind of over and over and over again. And so we take the pause to get back out of that autopilot mode and say, okay, what are we doing? Does that still work for us? Is there a better way? Someone else doing it better? Should I be thinking of this a little bit differently? And like taking that time to sort of rebuild and not be attached to anything that you're doing.
or any labels.
Huge.
Like, who am I if I'm not a hairstylist, or whatever your story is right now?
I know we're going to go deep today.
I mean, I told you, I don't want to pick a topic. Let's just chat and see what comes up, and then we'll title it later. So that's where we're going with it this year, is just kind of going with the flow. And I feel like I want to sit down with my calendar and make all these plans. But I mean, we have some pretty cool plans. Like, we're hosting the Evolved Couples Retreat in February. We've got the Goddess Retreat in April. Like, we're doing cool shit. But like, the courses that we want to make and like all of that, but I don't even want to make a plan. I really just want to live moment to moment, because we don't even know if we'll make it to that. You just never even know. Like, we have to live by that philosophy that we teach. And so for me, I'm just like living life with the intuitive, like, yes or no, does this feel good? And we have been led to some crazy, unique new experiences, to new people, to new great contacts. And I don't know. I don't even want to plan, because like, then it's like known. I'd rather it be a surprise. Now I get there has to be some kind of plan in some regard, but what this experience has shown me is like, you really aren't in control of all the things. You're only in control of how you respond to what shows up in your reality, or whatever it is you attract for some reason that you can't understand in the moment. Most of the time, we don't understand why we've attracted certain things into our life. But I do find it interesting that you bring up the self-sabotage, because sometimes we attract things into our life that are trying to get us to wake up to our power. Sometimes we attract things into our life because we've been asking for change, but it will only come through some, crazy messed up way. Like, you've been wanting out of that relationship and he finally cheats on you, and now you're mad enough to finally leave, even though you would never do it before unless something drastic like that happened.
Dang.
Just calling it out like it is.
It's weird how when we ask for change, the way that opportunity ends up showing up. I feel like we probably would never ask for change if we knew it was going to show up in the weird ways that it does, but that's the only way we change.
Listen,
sometimes.
I said I was going to quit the salon in 2022, but the universe made sure that I could not even work like with my hands in the beginning of 2022. It's so crazy.
Wow.
I mean, I love it. I declared to the universe recently that I'm just picking my feet up and I am along for the ride. We have a deep understanding of, like, we got each other. I'm headed in the right direction. I'm doing some sparkle magic light work, and like, wherever you want me to serve is where I will be. And hey, this is what's happening. And we've known it for a while that it was time to leave this behind.
Okay.
And
You're right. What you're saying is really important, because I think this is
duh.
Oh my gosh, I love you. But this is one of those things that makes you uniquely you. This is like one of those things that I think most other people do not adopt, and if they do adopt it, they don't do it well, and I think there's a reason why. And that is, you specifically know what it is that you want. Specifically. Like, you know when you think in like your heart of hearts and in your like mind of minds that you know what it is, exactly what you want. You could see it in a clear picture in your brain, bright as day. I mean, boom, I want that. But you, unlike most people, are not worried about the how. I feel like you're not attached to the how whatsoever. And I think that most people are always attached to the how.
Yeah, like you over there, Aquarius, like getting all the play-by-play back-end secrets of how to make everything work and all the things. And I'm over here just like, I don't know, we'll figure it out. Like, it'll show up. I'll just know what to do in the moment.
Here's the difference. Here's how it works. Or here's how it works for me. What I do is that whenever I want to change something in my life, I focus as much as possible on the fact that I want that change made. I mean, like, focus a lot. Like, I close my eyes and focus on that change happening and how my life would look as I made that change. And then I let everyone around me tell me how to do it. I know that what will end up happening is that we will have a conversation and someone will mention something in that conversation.
Are you saying we're going to get an RV and move to some acreage?
I'm not.
And my brother's going to come help us set it up? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I continuously focus on specific goals. Like, that's one of the secrets of goal setting that a lot of people don't talk about, is that you focus on the thing, but you do not, cannot, should not focus on the how. And like Britt does that very beautifully. And I don't feel like I have perfected that moment. I'm always like, but the steps end up showing up as people, for me, at least. I figured that out in my life, is that it's like everyone's the guru if you know how to listen, kind of thing. Whenever I'm talking to people, I'm listening, which makes me a little better listener, to the other person tell me the nuggets that I need to know. Because they'll bring up random stuff in conversation. Like, the same way if you've ever been thinking about somebody and like the next day or the next week, they end up calling you or you end up seeing them or passing them somehow. Like, it's the same thing this way. It's like I focus on really, really specific, I want this change in my life, whatever that change is. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's small or big, in other words. And then I end up having a conversation with people in my life that tell me exactly what things I need to do, or at least to consider, that will lead me on to the next step in my life to give me those changes. Like, I don't do it any other way.
I feel like people have a hard time just giving themselves permission to immediately reinvent overnight. Yeah. And I feel like I had to adapt. Otherwise, I would have been living under labels that did not align with who I am or who I was at the time.
So here's the secret to starting this year off right. And that is to know that overnight or at any point in your life, no matter where you're at, you can change. What it takes is for you to pause what you're regularly doing and start to reconsider everything that's been going on and say, will I continue to allow this to be in my life? And if not, how will I change that? And then become really specific on what that new life or that new thing or that new habit or that new way of being is.
Hashtag 7 or above club.
And once you have that crystal clear in your mind, pay attention to everything in your experience, especially people and movies and books and articles that you read, and the things that just start showing up randomly for that random person that'll call you and then mention this out of the blue. Just listen to those people for a moment and decide, is now my time to go after it? And if it is, it's time. Go for it.
So what are you leaving behind in 2021?
I think that the biggest clarity for me this year has come from deciding on what the next, I'll say, 10 to 15 years of my life will be dedicated to, and how I'll be able to show up, serve others, but also do a lot in things in life that are for me. Developing passions that I have so that I can, again, continue to show up and serve others. And I think for me, that would be letting go of anything that does not allow me to do that. That would be purging, getting rid of anything that doesn't align with that attitude. That may be the emails that I used to read or the people that I used to follow or the things that I used to do on the weekend or what I used to think about. I think it will be just like letting go of anything that's not going to build up that new thing. That's for me.
I like that.
What about you?
Frustration.
Frustration. I like so simple, to the point.
Just fucking tired of being frustrated. Like annoyed with other people, irritated with the oppression, and I think it just gets back to, I've shared this before. I asked my guides in the thick of 2020 and said, how do I maintain love and light in a world filled with hate and anger? And they said, love breeds love, anger breeds anger. I'm like, well, damn, like, why you gotta be so simple like that? Just like put it like that. So for me, I'm done being frustrated, and I only want to feel love and only want to feel peace. And not to put your head in the sand, like I'm fully aware of the fucked upery around here, but I'm not going to focus on it. And if it doesn't feel good, I'm going to cut it real quick instead of letting it linger.
Dang.
Bye.
A bold year. See that? I mean, you do things like that, you're going to be right for a year with a lot of change in your life. Mm-hmm. I mean, for the most part, it should be very positive change. At least you'll figure out quickly what will need to be different to make it in the way that you like. Wow, those are good ones.
I know. It's going to feel good. I think we're all kind of fed up and tired of feeling like dicked around. Like really,
what I think
we just want to feel free again.
Maybe we've been waking up more into what we want out of life, or maybe what's important, or maybe been around friends enough who've you decided, man, being around people and sharing good times and laughter, and maybe that's more important in my life. Or maybe I need to be working on this specific thing in my life right now. But I feel like the last, I don't know, a couple of years maybe has really given us big insights, whether we've wanted them or not, as to what's going to work long term, and whether this is like for our highest good or.
Oh man, I was just thinking about Mercury retrograde, and every time it rolls around, which it's the 14th of January this season, and I always say I now release what no longer positively serves me in my life, and every time I'm always amazed at what ends up leaving my life that I would have never guessed. Like, oh, that wasn't in alignment? Like, weird. Like, that didn't even seem like a red flag, or that seems out of the blue, but every time it's something very unique.
You know, I'm really thankful that you got into, I don't know, maybe more natural stuff. The moon, where the moon's at, because you see that. Or maybe where the sun's at, where the planet's at in rotation to this, or relation to this planet, or getting more into like, what does life look like outside? Like, what does it look like up in the sky? You know, where are things right now in the world that we live in? And you've gotten into it and used it as a tool to be able to set up times in your life when you should get rid of things. And I think when you really do that, what you're doing is so much more reclaiming your power. Mm-hmm. Saying, I used to give this energy to that. Man, I'm going to take that energy back now. Let's redirect that energy in this other direction. I think you're just moving energy around. So
and I think that's what's going to happen this year collectively, is that we're all refocusing our energy and reprioritizing it, recognizing that our energetic contribution really is what is moving the needle forward in any of our lives, is where are we focusing our energy.
And so if you're doing that, you can automatically apply the 7 or above rule by asking yourself this question. Does this activity that I'm doing right now, does it drain me or does it bring me joy? If it drains you, you have to ask yourself, do I have to do it? Do I absolutely 100%? It's got to be me. I've got to do this and I've got to keep doing this for a while. And you can stick with it. But if it's not like that, which is like 99% of the things, you change it. You say, oh, okay, well, maybe I don't give my energy so much to that anymore. Maybe it has to be a little bit. But I'm going to take the majority of that back and let's redirect it into something that's good. So it's not something that's complicated. Like, we're not talking about changes that can't be done. We're talking about making a little bit different decisions. Not complicated. This is very simple.
Yeah.
Everything in life should be constantly getting more simple if
Simplified.
possible.
That's always the bottom line behind anything that I want to do, is like, how can we make this more simple and not overcomplicate it? Because I feel like that's where people like meddle extra energy that's like worry or frustration or doubt, and they like overcomplicate it or self-sabotage like we talked about earlier. I'll never forget a client, and I love you very much if you're listening, come to me and she's like, I opened my membership program similar to the Elevated Life Club. I opened my membership program. It's been open for 7 months. It keeps growing. I'm making money and I just closed it down. Well, why'd you close it down? Oh, I don't know. I mean, what do you mean you don't know? Why'd you close it down? It's making money. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought I wasn't good enough, or it wasn't working, or just literally don't have like any real reason, only to discover there is a self-sabotage issue of, well, I've had things that I love get taken away from me in younger years. So anything that starts to happen in my life that is good, I will end it, or I will, sabotage it so that at least I'm in control of taking away the good.
Golly. I mean, that's really powerful to figure out that sort of that you're the obstacle. I mean, that's freedom. That's a very strong lesson. I mean, to have the awareness to be able to do that, because a lot of people want to say, it can't be me. That won't be me. Nope. I have to, no matter what's happening, I have to be the one succeeding. And
ding, ding. It's always you.
Yeah. We're not being resourceful. We're not being typically something. I'm sure there's some random case, but that's...
It's always you. I feel like that should be a song.
I agree. Let people know just for a minute.
Yeah. But it's liberating. It's like a slap in the face, because you're like, ugh, what? I have to take responsibility and admit that I'm not perfect? Okay, well, if you admit that, then you can be well on your way to being mostly perfect,
Back to freedom again.
Freedom. Yeah.
Being able to be who you are. I think when we're talking about freedom, we're talking about being able to be who you are. If you're okay with being you,
mask free. I mean, not like COVID mask, but like personality mask.
Yeah.
Or both.
Without the extra layers on.
Yes.
If you're able to just be you and be comfortable being you in your skin, being you with your hair, and you with your nose, and you with your body type, and you with your intelligence level, and you with where you're at in
your
life,
darkness,
all the stuff. when you start to be okay with you, which is sort of the challenge in all of this, just being okay being me. So, oh, I'm good. No, over here I'm still good. Thanks, though. When you can come with a really calm attitude, and this is not from any place of anger, it's from a calm, like loving attitude. When you can come from that, I mean, that's what we're talking about. That's freedom. That's total freedom. Just, no, I'm comfortable in my own skin. That'll do for a day. I mean, you can have that kind of attitude in life. That's something to begin to develop. And just starting off with the acceptance, that starts with rebuilding your life. And that starts getting back to the pause, getting back to the present moment. And realizing that it's here, we can make all the decisions. If we're somewhere else, that's not real.
It really doesn't have to be that hard, does it?
No, it doesn't.
But we make it hard.
Well, yeah, I think that it's the game that we play with ourselves. Because what else would we be doing?
I mean, we would just have all this free time to do the things we love if we weren't fucking around with ourselves. Oh, a funny paradigm we live in, Carmichael, but I'm just so grateful to be walking this journey with you, and I want to publicly thank you for all the support that you've shown me, not only like for the last 15 years, let's be real, but this last year, losing Dad, and just all the changes from the highs in the business to some of the best things we've ever experienced, to some of my darkest moments of emotional healing and inner child work, and I just want to thank you for always being there. And with the broken hands, like, literally, you were my backbone, my hands, my toothbrush holder, all the things.
You know, and you have been the exact same to me so many years ago when I went through the exact same thing.
It's good karma coming back.
I think that you start to realize when you get deeper into relationships, when you get past that sort of honeymoon phase, you start to realize maybe the true nature of relationships, and that sometimes you're going to go through hard times. And that's okay. And that's I mean, we're built for it. I mean, like, we're built to endure. We're tough little sons of bitches. I mean, we just are. We've got grit as people. And I think that, you know, some of us are excellent sufferers. And it's good to realize that there are a lot of things out there that can help you. And at the same time, to realize there are a lot of things you don't have to go through unless you just feel like it. You know, things that you can just stop. Things you can be aware of. Especially when it is talking about change, talking about being something new or doing something different. That's a time where you get to make a new stake in the world right now and say, I stand for this. I want to do this in my life. I'm about this thing. This thing really interests me. I really love this. This brings me a ton of joy. And start saying that to yourself about things. Find the things that bring you joy and focus on them.
You bring me joy.
Aww.
And this podcast brings me joy. And you know what really brings me joy? When we get off of a live call with the Elevated Life Club members, and we've just done an hour or 90-minute training. We've done the breath work. Well, hell, we're doing lots of breath work in this one. We've done the meditation. That is one of my favorite feelings of the month. And it's something I'm excited to keep doing with you in the new year. This was something we talked about. Do we want to keep doing the membership club? Do we want to transition it, transform it? Like, what are we doing with it? And who knows, it may change in the future, but I just know that this is year 5 that we have been showing up doing live monthly group coaching, and it's so incredible to see the impact we've made in people's lives. People have written books, multiple books. Like, people have changed their businesses, created multiple businesses, helped their children get into different schools, or just like, oh, like, it really just is something that I'm so grateful that our paths, we've always said we want to work together, but we don't know how. Like, how are we supposed to work together? Obviously, you're not going to do hair. I mean, we tried. You do a pretty good job at mine. But I just knew that we were meant to do something together, and now we're 5 years in to the club. I mean, we've been doing these podcasts and lives for even longer, but just the club alone, I feel like, is that mission that, like, you know, when everyone's like, what's my soul mission? What's my purpose? Like, the work that we do with the people and transforming and helping them heal and upgrade their mindset is just priceless. And I'm so grateful that we can do this together.
It's definitely one of my favorite things. I didn't realize the power of being around people who want to do something in life, who are passionate, who are happy.
Go-getters.
Yeah, the people who will just say, hey, I'm doing it. Say, hey, I'm going to do this year. And then at the end of the year, they've actually done it. And not only did they do it, they did more than they thought that they would.
Freaking shout out to Anne, one of our elevators. Girl, I know you're listening. We are so freaking proud of you. You have been with us from the beginning of the Elevated Life Club.
The beginning of the beginning.
5 years ago, on day one, you were there, and your goal was to show up live to every single masterclass every month in 2021. And you did it, girlfriend. I'm so proud of you.
I love it, because when you get people start to show up in life and they are excited about something and they're passionate about it and want to do it, man, just it's amazing the type of energy that you pick up on.
Yeah, it like lights other people on fire too.
Yeah, and you can start to like reciprocate that excitement, and you see over like the reality about change is that change takes time. Like, it's not typically always something that we can do in a day. We don't evolve that fast. It takes a period of time. It takes doing something consistently for an amount of time. And that's why I love the group coaching aspect, is because we have seen people now at this mark, especially people who have stuck with us, are succeeding in places in their life where they didn't think so when they first started out.
They couldn't even see that possibility because they were still trying to like
it wasn't as good.
Hit goal number 1, 2, and 3.
It wasn't as good. I think that's one of the most just rewarding things, to be able to see people do that, because it starts, I mean, not only validate your work, but you get an excitement level. You're like, even if I played 1% in that, or even if they, you know, whatever, they're there.
It's like
they're there.
When you celebrate the elevator's success, it's like you're celebrating your success too. It feels that, and I feel that invested in everyone's life and,
like
and what they're doing.
Family atmosphere. Like, you care. You like wake up thinking about them. You know, you go to sleep like they're on your mind throughout the day. They're there. It's incredible community. I'm really glad that we spent the time to build that and to build it for this long. You know, in the beginning, who knows what it was going to turn into, and it's been incredible to be able to consistently share things with people that are making massive differences in their life.
And the same with the podcast. Like, that was born because 2020 happened. Otherwise, we would have probably not considered this path. So I'm just so grateful that we pivoted and just started showing up in this particular way. And it's been so grateful to receive messages from you guys letting us know that you tune in, that you enjoy it. That really inspires us to keep going, because we're always, I mean, obviously we can look at the analytics and woohoo to like, I don't know, 25,000 downloads last year. But like, do you guys even care? Like, are you listening? Are you guys listening? So when you guys message us or you post and tag the Elevated Life Club, you know, that really, you know, it makes us feel good. And I think that's so important. That's what we're here to show up and support you guys, to let you know you're amazing and the work that you do matters. And I think that it's just really cool to see that the work that we're doing matters. So thank you. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for always posting and tagging us and sharing your successes with us, because we genuinely care. We chose not to have children so that we could love on you guys and we could have the time for that.
So this year, especially right here at the beginning, be thinking about, what is it that's important? And where do you want to go? And reach out to us, because we want to hear it too. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Peace. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Elevated Life Podcast. Want more? Join us at theelevatedlifeclub.com for mindset upgrades, lifestyle hacks, and spiritual tools to elevate your soul.
Each month features a new masterclass, meditation, yoga practice, and more to help you transform your life one step at a time.
Come join the 7 or Above Club.